Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Dory Knight Ingram and I'm the co-founder of Help Me Grandma. Just wanted to also give a shout out to my partner and co-founder, Grandma Doris, who is also if you're seeing her, give everyone a wave, Grandma Doris. And we just wanted to give you a big thank you for taking time to be with us this evening. A little bit about Help Me Grandma if you are new to Help Me Grandma. We provide tutoring and more, supporting families with young learners. We provide personalized and affordable enrichment activities for students in grades kindergarten through eighth grade, utilizing data and highly skilled and experienced educators to achieve excellence. We have resources for ELA, math, science, and social studies, and also PSAT, ACT, and SAT preparation resources. Learn more at helpmegrandma.com. So again, we're so honored that everyone is joining us this evening as we welcome Petrina Turner for Master Your Money, Help Me Grandma's first online community event of 2022. Now, I always thought I was pretty good with money and budgeting, but I know I'm going to learn something tonight, and I hope you do too. So with that, Petrina, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Dory. I am so elated to be here. Thank you for the invite. I have known Dory and her mom, Grandma Doris, for quite some time now. I was a child. So thank you so much for inviting me. I love, love, love talking about finances and money and helping people get their finances together. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slides. I'm going to stop my video and pull up my slides. Again, thanks for having me. Like I said before, I love talking about personal finances, not because it is something that I have a degree in or something that I went to school for. My background is actually an industrial engineer and urban studies. So I say that to say that I am in the position to be able to talk about personal finances because of all the things I did wrong. Okay, so if you have done some not so great things with your finances or credit or anything, listen, we are all here together. I am with you. And thank the good Lord, I was able to start learning from my mistakes and researching and educating myself on personal finances, which is kind of how I kind of got started in here. Just a little bit about myself. I am a wife. I am a boy mom. I have 3 boys. And I kind of fell into this whole personal finance thing. I was just interested in learning more about finances again because I wasn't doing well with it. And then I started seeing some people who were people of color who were talking about how they had paid off all their debt and was doing all these great things with their finances. And we really wanted to actually start doing that ourselves. And then one of the biggest things that kind of thrust me into this whole personal finance space is I lost my contract that I had. And at the time, we had 2 small boys, 2 toddlers. Now I have 3 boys. And we weren't financially prepared to be able to live off of one income. And we did not have hardly anything saved. So long story short, I had to start. Well, I didn't have to. This is what I did. I started robbing Peter to pay Paul, like putting things on a credit card in order to make sure we had enough groceries and doing all these kind of things. And it got to the point where I couldn't even afford to pay the minimum for the credit cards that I was using. So as a result, I had to call them and tell them I could not pay any more. And of course, even though you call and let them know your situation, they're still going to continue to call you and ask for their money. So after a while, of course, I was in a position where I really didn't know what to do, and I hadn't found a job yet. Thank the Lord, after about 6 or 7 months, I was able to find something that was able to get us over the hump and kind of start paying back what we weren't able to pay, and kind of maintain our finances. But we weren't able to get ahead. So one of the things that we did, my husband and I, is we had what I call a come to Jesus meeting. And my husband was able to have a second set of eyes because I was the one that was kind of managing the finances. And we started writing out some of the things that we wanted to do with our money, where we wanted to be with our money, and we created goals. Created goals, and we created a plan for our finances. That plan included me getting a better job. Even though I had small kids, I wanted to have the flexibility, but the job didn't pay as well. So I ended up going and getting a better paying job. And I was also to keep the job that I had and work as a contractor, and be able to get even more, of course, extra money. So we took that money, planned it out. My husband, of course, was still working, and we decided that we were going to pay off as much debt as we could, save as much money as we could in a short period of time. And within 21 months, we were able to pay off $40,000 worth of debt and have a good 10K in our savings. So I'm grateful to God for that. It was a learning experience, but now I had started blogging about our journey to becoming financially free and getting our finances together and building and leaving a legacy. And the blog turned into a business. So that's kind of how I got here. So now my goal is to help families become financially free. And I do that by giving tips and tools on ways for people to manage their money, budget, save, get out of debt, and make more money. And that's just by using your God-given abilities to increase your income. So that's a little bit about myself and how I got started. Like I said, I love talking about personal finances, and I want people to join us on our journey to getting our finances together. One of the things that I've learned is that when you start taking one step forward, I'm a Christian, so God is always going to meet you where you are and help push you to taking that next step. So that's pretty much what happened to us in our finances, and even in this business. So now I'm sharing the wealth, trying to educate as many families as I possibly can about money. So today we are talking about how to master your money. And I'm going to give you 7 tips, 7 steps as to some of the things. It's not everything, but I just wanted to briefly give you some things that you can do in order to start creating the financial foundation, and laying the foundation so that you can start building and leaving a legacy. All right. So we're going to get started with tip number 1. In order for you to begin to master your money, the first thing that you have to do is change your mind. So Tony Robbins says, if you do what you have always done, you will get what you have always gotten. And that is something that I have learned from firsthand experience, because I was always complaining about, our finances and how we needed this and how we needed that, but I wasn't doing anything about it. So the first thing that you need to know is make sure that you are ready and are in the position to be able to change your current financial situation. There's no point in you saying that I want to save, I want to get out of debt, I want to fix my credit, I want to do all these things if your mind has not changed. And that, of course, coincides with your habits, right? So how do you begin to change your mind? Well, one, is in terms of finances, one, you have to understand your money story. What is your money story? It's basically how you feel, how you grew up, what you learned about money that dictates how you do money, right? Your views on money. And one of the things that I did is I had to look back and be like, okay, why do I love to spend money all the time? Why do I love to always try to figure out how I was the type of person that I paid all my bills on time. I made sure that, all the things were paid. But if I had a dollar left over, I was going to figure out how to spend that dollar, right? So I had to dig back and see where did that come from so that I could understand why I was doing the things I was doing with my money, so that I could identify the things that I needed to change, right? So go back and look at, why do I do this? Why do I spend money? Or maybe you don't spend money. Maybe you're a hoarder, or you want to keep it all, right? Whatever your views are with money, I always say go back and look at how you got those views. What did you see growing up? in your household, with your friends, or even some of the experiences you had with your finances, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is to recognize your bad money mindsets and money habits. One of the things, like I was telling you, is I love to spend money. I pay everything on time, but if I had anything left, I was going to spend that money, right? So that was one of the reasons when, of course, by the time I became an adult and was married and started having kids, when we were in a situation where I wasn't working anymore, we hardly had anything saved because I like spending that money, right? So we have to recognize our bad money mindsets and start looking at our money habits so that we will know why, we say we're going into the mall just to window shop and we end up coming out with 5 bags of clothes, right? So we need to recognize some of those money habits that we have. The third thing we need to do is, once we know our money story, we recognize some of those bad money habits, we need to start educating ourselves. And this is so important because we know that knowledge is power, right? So after I started seeing how other people were able to, were paying off debt and had this money saved and didn't have to struggle in terms of finances. Because one of the things that I learned is, at the time, of course, we were making, I told you I was an engineer, so I was making good money, but I was always felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck, right? So I had to start educating myself about my finances, reading books on money, getting into groups on social media, so that I could learn more about money, all these things. Another thing you need to do is hang around people who want more and are doing more, right? There's a quote that's talking about, we know where you're going to be in another 10 years by just looking at the 5 people that you hang around, right? Who are you hanging around? Are they the type of people that want to spend money all the time? Are they helping you save? Are they helping you grow? What are they doing? So you need to start hanging around people who are where you want to be. All right. The next thing you need to do, list out your money goals. The Bible talks about writing the vision and making it plain, right? So that is something that we all need to do, because it's hard for us to say that we want to, save, or we want to pay down debt when we don't know the end goal, right? How much do you want to save? How much debt do you want to pay off, right? So we need to have something as to which that we're going to attain to, okay? So write down those money goals and also write down a date, right? I heard someone say that a goal without a date is just a wish. So make sure, as you're writing down some of the where you want to be, how much money you want to save, you need to write down the goal, the date as to when you want to attain it. All right. And lastly, you need to get accountability. The best way for me, the reason why we were able to stick to our plan, stick to our budget, because let me tell you, it was really hard when we were trying to pay down the credit card debt and pay off our car notes, was my husband and I were accountable to each other. So you need to have somebody who's going to be like, you said you was going to take that $100 and put it in your savings. You said you was going to take that $50 and put it towards, whatever you're paying off at the time, right? So you need somebody who is going to ensure that you are sticking to your money goals. All right. So that is the first thing that we need to do. We need to change our mind. And this is a list, and you can screenshot this. This is a list of ways that you can begin to start changing your mind. All right. So tip number 2, you need to know where you stand financially. It's very difficult to save and to pay off debt if you do not know how much money you have to do it with, right? How are you going to pay off? Say that you're going to save, or your goal is to get to, $5,000 in your savings, and you want to save money every month, but you don't know how much extra money you have left over after you're paying your bills for you to put into your savings, right? So first, you need to know where you are financially. What are you spending each month? So what do you need to do? You need to list out all of your expenses, right? Just get a sheet of paper, write out how much money you're spending on going out to eat. How much money are you spending for getting your hair done or your nails done? How much is your cable bill? How much is your mortgage? How much Are you paying every month for your car note? List out all of your monthly expenses, everything. If you don't know, that credit card statement will tell you, the bank statement will tell you. You can always go there and look to see how much money you're spending on eating out or going to the grocery store. But write it all down and add it all up, right? And then what you're going to do is look at how much you're bringing in. So that list tells you what's going out every month. Now you need to look at how much you're bringing in. Have you ever looked at, of course, your paychecks and making sure that everything is correct on there? Make sure that's right. And then take whatever you're making every month. If you're married, add in your spouse's income if you guys are splitting or sharing bills. But look at how much income you're bringing in monthly and subtract that from your expenses. So it's income minus expenses, right? So let me give you an example of this. Let's say that you added up all your expenses, and your expenses for each month, you spend, let's say, $4,000 a month, right? Your expenses between your mortgage, your house, your car note, car insurance, going out to eat, all these things, you're spending $4,000 a month. But when you went to look at your income, you're only bringing in $3,500 a month, right? So $3,500 minus 4,000, income minus expenses, that's a negative $500. So that means you're overspending every single month, right? So that's why it's hard for us to get out of debt, because we're overspending each month. So what do you need to do? I tell people to go through that expense list, go through each of those line items and see what you can realistically cut out, reduce, or eliminate, right? I always say realistic. Make sure that you're being realistic when you go through and seeing what you can cut out or eliminate or completely just take away. Because when I'm doing this with people and they see how much money they're spending, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm spending all this money on eating out, let's say. And they're like, I'm not going to eat out at all. I'm going to bring my, lunch to work every day, and I am not eating out at all. Well, that sounds good in theory, but when you've been eating out every single day for lunch for the past 5 years, it's really hard for you to completely go cold turkey, right? So what I tell people to do is make sure, be realistic, and gradually start working up to going cold turkey, right? So let's just say that you eat out for lunch every day, Monday through Friday. You're going somewhere to go get something to eat for lunch, right? Well, instead of going 5 days a week, maybe you can start by just going out to eat 3 days and bringing your lunch 2 days a week, right? So Monday and Tuesday, you bring your lunch. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you're going out to lunch. Well, now you have, after a few weeks and a few months, you've gotten into the rhythm of making your lunch and doing all that kind of thing, those things. And now you can bring in your lunch on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and only go out to eat on Thursday and Friday, right? And as you continue to be like, hey, I can do this. I'm waking up early. I'm making my lunch. Maybe Monday through Thursday, you can bring in your lunch and reward yourself for bringing in your lunch on Friday, right? So we want to take baby steps. Don't just cut out everything because you see that you're overspending. Make sure that you are being realistic with it, because when we're not realistic with it, we go right back to it. That's what happens at the beginning of the year around this time when we make New Year's resolution and we're saying, hey, I'm not going to eat any sweets for the next 90 days. And day 14 into January, we have eaten the whole cake because we just wanted to take a little, and now all the cake is gone, right? So we want to take baby steps and not just go cold turkey, but be able to work up to where we want to be. All right, so go through that list, determine what you can realistically reduce or completely eliminate. Some things you might eliminate is, let's say that you're still doing the satellite for cable. Well, that satellite bill is kind of expensive. Like I remember paying a few years ago, like almost $150 a month for satellite. Thank God now we have streaming services. So maybe you can cut that out, make sure you have good Wi-Fi, strong Wi-Fi, and you can get, Netflix or Hulu, whatever you typically watch, and those are like less than $10 a month, right? So those are some of the things that you can do in order to realistically start reducing and cutting down some of those expenses. So this is pivotal. Make sure you write out all of your expenses, make sure you know what you're spending, and then go back and see what you can reduce and or eliminate. All right. So that was tip number 2. Tip number 3. John Maxwell says this: tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So, what do we need to do? We need to create a money plan, a monthly money plan. What is a monthly money plan? A budget. A budget tells your money what to do and when to do it. I know a lot of people hate that B word, but it is something that we all need to do. There's, of course, many ways that you can do it. One of the ways that you can do create a budget is to just look at your expense sheet. You see what you were spending your money on. You see you have the car note down, you have the mortgage down, you have your insurance, auto insurance down. All you have to do is look at that. We already know how much you're spending. Now you just look and see when your due dates are, right? So let's say your mortgage is due at the first of the month. So you're gonna put down, okay, first of the month. You say, let's say your auto insurance is due on the 26th of the month. You're going to put down the 26th of every month. You're going to go through each one of your expenses that have due dates. Of course, groceries and things like that don't have due dates, but all of your expenses that have due dates, write them down. And then the way you create this budget is you're going to look at when you get paid, right? The dates that you get paid every month. You're going to assign those expenses to one of your paychecks, right? So let's say that you get paid on the 15th and the 30th of every month, right? The 15th and the 30th, or the first of every month, okay? So if your car note is due on the 17th, then that means you had a check that came 2 days before on the 15th. So your car note will get paid on your 15th check, right? Let's say that your mortgage is due on the 1st, or sometimes they give you a grace period. So let's say you have to pay it by the 5th. Well, your second paycheck comes on the 30th of each month. So that's how you're going to pay your mortgage. So you go through each one of your expenses, look at their due dates, and compare it to when you get paid, and you're going to assign every expense to one of your paychecks. So you should know ahead of time how you are going to spend your paychecks before it even hits your account. I'm going to say that again. You are telling your money not to do. Your money is not telling you what to do. So you need to know or have a plan as to how you are going to spend your money before that check hits your bank account. All right. So on the 15th, this is the list. These are the things that I'm going to spend my money on. On the 30th, this is a list of expenses that I'm going to spend my money on. You already know in advance. That is a budget. Now you can write this budget on a sheet of paper every month. I like using Excel, where all I have to do is copy and paste it for the next month, or Microsoft Excel. There are some apps that can help you do this. There are a lot of different ways you can do it. You can, of course, automate your bills. There's so many different ways that you can do it. But initially, you need to know what you're spending, the due dates, and what checks you're going to pay each one of your expenses on. The way, however that looks, whether it's on a sheet of paper, whether it's on Excel, whether it's you're managing it from an app, however you do it, just if you get that down, then you have a budget. All right. So I hope everybody understood that. And of course, if you have questions, we can answer that at the end of the presentation. So anybody can create a budget. I've helped plenty of people create a budget. Sometimes I have to come back and they have to come back to me and say, hey, I know you helped me create a budget, but man, it's so hard sticking to it, right? So anyone can create a budget, but it takes commitment, self-discipline, and accountability to stick to one. So I'm going to give you a few tips that help me be able to stick to a budget. So one is pay your bills the day you get paid. So again, for example, on the 15th you get paid, on the 30th you get paid. On that 15th and on the 30th, you're pulling out your budget and you're going to go ahead and pay each one of the bills that you have designated for that paycheck, right? Because what I have learned is the longer my check sits in my account, the more likely I am to stop at Chick-fil-A and go to TJ Maxx things and get stuff that wasn't originally included in my budget, right? Because I see money in my account. So to eliminate me spending extra money, one of the things that I do is the day that I get paid, I pull out my budget sheets or my Excel sheet and I'll go ahead and pay my bills the day that I get paid. All right. Of course, you can always automate your bills so your bills can automatically come out on those dates on the 15th and then the 30th. That works as well. You just got to make sure that you're managing it well so that you won't get any overdraft fees and all that kind of stuff. You can also, of course, separate your accounts if you want to have your money that you get paid come into one checking account and then have a separate bills account, and you just move money over and have it automatically coming out of your spend account. That's completely fine. Another thing that I make sure that we do is we have separate, and we'll kind of get to this a little later, but we have separate, of course, like savings accounts at different financial institutions, so that automatically goes to our savings account. You can, of course, you need to ensure that you have grocery lists and all the things that you may be spending your money on for that paycheck already listed out. And you also, another tip to sticking to a budget is you have to be okay with saying no to people. Because once you write out that budget, let me just tell you, friends, family, everybody, strangers are going to come to you and be like, hey, do you want to go to this concert? Or hey, do you want to go to this play? Or hey, we're planning a trip. It's fine for you to be able to put those things in the budget, right? If you have it. But let me just say, don't let people guilt you into spending money, right? It's going to be hard initially if you were always a person that wanted to go everywhere and wanted to do everything. And now you have some parameters on how you are going to spend your money. But let me just tell you that when you get into the habit of paying your bills on time and sticking to a budget, the reward is so awesome. Okay. So it's okay with saying no. You might have to say no now, but you will be able to say yes later. Okay. So make sure that you're sticking to your budget. This comes back to getting around people who are where you want to be, having accountability and all that good stuff. Okay. So those are just some tips that we have that will help you stick to your budget. All right. So tip number 4, save for a rainy day, because guess what? The rain will come. 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved for emergencies. And listen, emergencies are going to happen, right? So one of the things that I teach people is we have to start being proactive. We know, our tire may go flat. We know we might have, our child may break a finger and we have to go to the emergency room. So we know things will happen. So we need to be proactive and have that money set aside. So when it happens, we don't have to borrow from friends or family members or put money on a credit card and get ourselves further in debt. We don't have to do that because we have money set aside for it, right? So let me just say, too, before I even talk about, ways to save and just giving you tips, that because we're still in the whole COVID pandemic, if you are struggling with your finances, and maybe you're not working full time because of COVID or just different things, make sure before you start saving that you are taking care of your needs first. Your 4 basic needs are housing, utilities, transportation, and food. Take care of that first. And of course, if you have any extra money, you can start saving. But if you're struggling financially, you're still looking for a job, you're still doing all these things, take care of those 4 basic needs first, and then you can start saving, right? So if you have a good job and you're bringing in money, the goal is to have at least 3 months of savings in your savings account. This is for, paying for things ahead of time, paying for things that, may take place Like I said, the car, we just had to buy an alternator not too long ago. So if you have at least $1,000 in your account, savings account, that is just the minimum you should have. The goal is to at least have 3 months, get to 6 months. And of course, if you want to get to 12 months, that's fine. But the goal is to quickly get to $1,000 first, because that will cover some of the costs that just come up out of the blue, right? So, what do you need to do? Ensure that you open up a separate savings account that is not at the same financial institution as your checking account. This is pivotal. This was a game changer for me because, like I said, I love to spend money, right? So, one of the things that I had to do was make sure we had a savings and a checking account. We use Bank of America. We had our savings in our checking account, both at Bank of America. And I would go into Target and say that I was going to spend $50. That's how much I had budgeted to for whatever I needed to get. But then I'll go into the kids section and I'll put some things in there. And then I'll go see, oh, those are some cute earrings. Let me go ahead and get that. And by the time I got to the register, I have $150 worth of things instead of $50 worth of things. Well, when my savings account was at the same bank as my checking account, it was easy for me to just pick up my phone and go to the Bank of America app and transfer that money from savings to checking right on the spot, right? And I would just tell myself that on the next check, I'll just move that money back over. That's that. I know I have money in there. I'll just move that money back over on the next check. Well, when the next check came, it never happened, right? So our savings, of course, started dwindling. So what I had to do is we had to get a completely different savings account at a separate financial institution. We went to a credit union, right? Kept our checking account at Bank of America, but we opened up our savings account at a credit union. And one of the things, and we had multiple savings account, which is something that you can do too. You don't have to just have one. We have one emergency savings. We have one Christmas savings. But one of the things that we did is make sure that we do not have a debit card for the savings account, because sometimes they'll ask you, hey, do you want to open a checking account as well? No, because if you get a checking account, they're going to give you a debit account, a debit card, right? So when you're opening up your savings, your emergency savings, your Christmas savings, your vacation savings, whatever it is, do not get a debit card. Okay, make sure that you are getting a separate account that is not at the same bank, the same credit union, the same financial institution as your bills account, your checking account. Okay. Another place that we started opening up savings account was online. It's called high yield savings account. Online savings are great because they don't have brick and mortar, so they're saving money on overhead costs, and that gives them a way to give you more money back. So their interest rates are typically a little higher than the traditional banks and even credit unions. So I would suggest doing a Google search and looking at some of the best online savings. I have one at American Express. We also have one at Marcus Goldman and Sachs. They have better interest rates. No fees. We're not paying monthly fees. We're not paying annual fees. And it makes it harder for me to access because I can't even go to the drive-through and get money out. I will have to transfer money from the savings to my checking, and then that's going to take between 24 and 48 hours. That's why it's imperative that we have separate accounts at two different institutions. It is great to have one online because it makes it hard for you to spend your savings. And that's what I had to do. I had to make it hard for me to spend money. All right. So if you want to get you should get into the habit of saving, right? That's one of the things that we were able to do was start getting into the habit of saving. Even if you have to save $50, $25, $10, $100, whatever it is you have left over after you've paid all your, after you've made sure that you had enough money to pay all your bills. Of course, like I said, if you're struggling, take care of those four basic needs first, but make sure that you have money that you're putting into your savings account. You can go talk to your employer, the payroll department, and have them automatically, just like they automatically dump money that your check into your checking account. You can tell them to put $100 from each check into the separate savings account, right? You can, that's a great way to get into the habit of saving, because most of the time when we were doing that, I didn't even realize that we were saving money. It would be out of sight, out of mind, right? Or you, of course, you can also do the automatic transfers. You can from your bank. Just go log into your bank, and most banks have it set up where you can automatically transfer money on certain days of the month from your checking to your saving, even outside savings account. All right. So those are the ways that you can save. Now, tip number 5, the great way for you to start mastering your money is to start paying down your debt. So again, we're in the COVID pandemic. If your job is stable, secure, and you have a good cushion in your savings, right? Again, I said the goal is to get to $1,000 quickly. You can do that by having garage sales, doing just different things in order to quickly get to that $1,000. So you have a stable job, you have a good cushion in your savings. I like to have, I would tell people to have whatever I guess is comfortable for you, at least $1,000. I prefer to have like 3 months worth of savings before we started paying off and paying down our debt. But once you have that good cushion in your savings, yes, you can begin paying down debt. Some people are like, well, should I stop putting money in my savings, or should I just only pay down debt? You can do both, because like I said, we want to get into the habit of saving, so you can still put extra money, automatically have that money put into your savings account, and take some of the extra money that you have left over and start putting it down on debt. So how do you pay off debt? There are 3 ways that many people have heard of, that some people use. The first method to paying down debt is what we call the snowball method. This is a method that Dave Ramsey made popular. And that's basically how you just write down all of your debt, your credit card bills, your student loans, how much you have left on your car note. Write it all down from least to greatest. All right. So let's say that you have a credit card and you owe $500 on it. Let's say that you have a car note and you owe $5,000 on it. Let's say that you have student loans and you owe $10,000 on it. Okay, so you're going to put the credit card first, the car note second, and the student loans third, right? Because that's least to highest. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to pay the minimum on all 3 of them every month. That's a part of your budget. You're going to pay the minimum on all 3 of them, but you're going to take some extra money and combine it with the minimum that you're paying, and you're going to pay that every month until that first one, the least, gets paid off. So let's say after you went through your expenses and you realistically cut out some of those things, you said you're not going to go out to eat as much, and you found an extra, let's say $300, right? $300. And you are paying you said you were paying $50 a month on your credit card. So now you have $50 that you're paying, that was the minimum, plus the $300 that you found. Instead of paying $50, now you have $350 that you're paying. So you owe $500. You'll have that paid off within 2 months, right? So within 2 months, you can pay off that credit card because you had that extra money and you are putting it on your credit card. So we'll cross that one out and we'll go to the next one. So the next one was your car note. I think I said your car note. So you owe $5,000 on it. Let's say that you were paying, I don't know, $350 a month on your car note. Well, you just paid off that credit card, so you have that extra $350. So now your car note is $350. You have the extra $350. So now you have $700 that you were going to use to pay off your car note. So let's say, let me see what $700 divided by I'm sorry, $5,000 divided by 350. So you owe $5,000. You were paying 350. It's going to take you a minute to pay off that, but now you have $700. So 5,000 divided by 700. So without interest, it will take you about 8 months. 8 months. Is that right? 700 times 8. Yeah, it would take you about 8 months to pay that off, right? Because now you literally doubled your car note, right? Your monthly car, what you're paying every single month. So the reason why they call it the snowball method is because you pay off one, you have that extra money, now you have more money to add to the next one. You know, when snow is rolling down the hill, it's collecting more snow and it gets bigger and bigger as it goes down. That's basically how it is when you do the snowball method. You have you're paying a certain amount of money for the first one, you take that money, you go pay it on the next one, you have more money now because that one is paid off, you put it on the next one, and it keeps getting what you can put on the bill, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. That's why they call it the snowball method. This is probably my favorite. This is what we use when we and what we still use when we're paying down the debt. All right. The next one, avalanche method. Avalanche is when you are doing pretty much the same thing, except you are paying your highest interest rate right first, right? So you're still listing out all of your debt, but you're paying the high and paying the minimum on each one of them, but you're putting the extra money on, you're starting off putting the extra money on the one that has the highest interest rate. That is a way for you to save, of course, some money, especially if you have credit cards that have very high interest rates. A lot of people are like, I don't want to do the snowball method. I feel like I'm wasting money because I need to really tackle this certain credit card because it's 35% interest on it or whatever it is. All right. So avalanche method is you're tackling the card or the debt that has the highest interest rate first, still paying the minimum and everything else. And then I call the next one the have it your way method. You do whatever makes sense. So let's say that you get a tax refund and you get $5,000 back, right? Well, let's say you have more than enough money saved in your savings. So you're like, hey, I only have $5,000 left on my car note. So what am I going to do? Instead of paying my paying off, I don't know, another credit card that I may have, I'm going to take it. It makes sense to pay off this car note. And when I pay off this car note, now I have this extra $350 that I was paying every month on the car note. So now I can add it to whatever extra money that I have to start paying down the rest of my debt. So that is a good way too. When you get a good chunk of money, do what makes sense, right? And sometimes what makes sense is to pay off the bill that is the highest monthly expense for that particular, for the month. All right. So those are the 3 ways that you can pay down, pay off debt. The snowball method, least the greatest. The avalanche method, highest interest rate first. And then, of course, to have it your way, whatever makes sense. All right. Tip number 6, which is my favorite. Another way for you to begin to master your money is to use your time and your talent to increase your income. I was reading a stat that said millionaires on average have 7 streams of income. And I was like, hey, that's interesting. I was reading the scripture and it talked about that. And it's in Ecclesiastes 11:2. It says, give a portion to 7 or maybe even to 8. They're talking about doing different things, for you don't know what disaster may happen on earth. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening, do not let your hand rest, because you don't know which will succeed, whether it will be one or the other or both, and then will be equally good. So basically, it's saying to have multiple streams of income, because when disasters strike, you will be able to have something to fall on, even if one through the first 3 streams of income doesn't do well. You have 4 to fall back on. It's so imperative. I always tell people it's great to have a 9 to 5. I think everybody should have, of course, some income coming in, but COVID taught us the importance of having a savings. Two, COVID also taught us that we need to ensure that we have multiple streams of income, because if the world shuts down and we don't have any income coming in, we need to have something else to rely on. Everybody should have at least one additional stream of income. Everybody should have at least one additional stream of income. And during the course the pandemic, I love Miles Monroe's quote. He says, "A crisis is the source of creativity." There were so many businesses that started in 2020 and in 2021, which is so great. I love it. But instead of waiting, I'm so happy people were able to do that. So I often tell people, instead of waiting for something to happen, use your creative juices and go make things happen. Maximize your time. Just determine which industries are striving during the crisis, where or in and not even a crisis, a worldwide crisis, but a crisis inside your home, right? For example, grocery stores were looking for people stocking that night, because when 2020 hit, everybody was going and buying up all the toilet paper. We had a lot of bare, we couldn't buy hardly anything, right? So they needed a lot of people to stock even at night. And even better, let use your the extra time that you have to be able to make money doing having flexible jobs like Uber Eats, like Instacart, where you deliver groceries, like Amazon Flex, where you're delivering, of course, the things that all of us order from Amazon. Just different things. There's so many jobs that allow you to work on your own time that will pay you. I was talking to somebody not too long ago that was talking about how they were able to pay their rent by just picking up people, doing Uber, picking up people on her way to work, and doing Uber on her way back from work. She wasn't going out of her way, and doing Uber on the weekends. And that gave her enough money to be able to pay her rent. And she wasn't going out of her way, right? So it was based on her timetable, her time schedule, right? So that is a great way for you to be able to maximize your time so that you can get so additional income into your household, right? So how do you use your talent to create additional streams of income? All of us have a gift. God has given all of us talents. We are working, so we have experience. So I always tell people to use what God gave you. Use your mind, use your hands. If you're a seamstress, people were sewing masks and making tons of money on Etsy and Facebook Marketplace. People needed soap, of course, and we still do, because, like I said, the pandemic is still in place. They were making hand sanitizer and making soap and selling them. If you're a teacher, creating online tutoring business. If you love fitness and health and all that kind of stuff, create virtual fitness videos or meal planning and ebooks to sell. There's so many ways for us to be able to use our gifts and use our skills and use our talents to be able to make additional streams of income. But first, you got to recognize that you do have that gift or that skill. So I always tell people that if you have 3 different people come to you and ask you to do the same thing, then that means that they're looking to you as the expert in whatever they're asking you to do. So let's say, for example, my mom makes the best strawberry cakes, right? So one person come and be like, "Hey, Miss Kid, can you make a strawberry cake? My son is turning, 5, and you brought a cake to church one day and he loved it. He wants to get your cake," right? Now, another person comes up, "Hey, I'm having people over for the holidays. Do you mind making that strawberry cake?" Third person comes and like, "Hey, I just have a sweet tooth. Can you make me a strawberry cake for the weekend?" That is something people are looking to you as you being the master strawberry cake maker, right? So that is a great way for you to be able to start bringing in extra money. Baking, especially during the holidays, that is some great income that people are now paying what, $40, $50, $60 for whole cakes. Great way to make extra money. So think about some of the things people ask you to do. If you don't know what your gifts are or what you can do in order to make extra money, ask your family and friends, what am I good in? What am I talented in? And then go research to see how you can use that skill, that talent, that gift, that experience to be able to bring in additional streams of income. Like I said, this business started because I just started blogging about our journey to getting out of debt. It wasn't something that I went to school to do. It wasn't something that it was even on my radar to do. We decided that we wanted to start getting our finances together. I started blogging about our journey, and guess what? It became a side hustle and now a job, right? So these are just some of the things that you can do in order to bring in additional income into your household finances. All right. So, last tip of the evening, when you get it, teach your kids good financial habits. We did not grow up learning a lot about finances. I don't actually remember hearing about finances. Especially, we definitely didn't hear it at school. So now we are in a position that we are learning. Thank God with social media and YouTube and all these different spaces that we can now readily learn about personal finances. So now, as you are learning, as you are having better spending habits, these are the things that you can start teaching your kids and showing them what they need to do. Because one of the things that I know for sure, I have 3 boys, that they will do what they may not do what you say, but they will definitely do what you do. So make sure that as we are learning, as we are growing, we are showing better financial habits, better money habits, but we're also taking the time to teach them. So this is something that we do in our household. We call it give, save, spend, right? Give, save, spend. So my boys, I have a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old, and they get money, of course, for grades. They get money. We just had the holiday season, so all of them ask for money from their grandparents, aunties, uncles, and all that good stuff. And they also, of course, get good money if they continue to do well throughout the months at home. They're doing their details and they're doing their chores and everything. So what do? We tell them, we bought 3 different jars. I think I bought it from like the dollar store, and I wrote give, save, spend. So all 3 of them had give, save, spend jars. So when they got money, they knew that they had to take 10% out to give. They would take 20% out to save. We opened them up their own savings account, and then they had 70%, the rest of it, to spend on whatever they wanted to spend it on. Most of the time is games. My youngest is toys, right? So they could spend the money, the remaining money, on whatever they wanted to spend the money on, but they had to get into the habit of giving. And then they had to get, of course, into the habit of saving, right? So like I said, our kids will begin to start doing what we do. We need to make sure that we're doing and teaching them the same things as well. So one thing that I can tell you that worked, especially when the kids were younger, not as much now, but we had a calendar where we would put a smiley face if they did all the things for that day that they were supposed to do. So let's say they're supposed to make up their bed. Somebody has kitchen duties. Somebody might have, I don't know, bathroom duties. And if the bathroom, the kitchen, all that look good, they would get a smiley face. They would get a smiley face for each of the days that they were in, making sure that their chores and everything were done. So by the end of the month, 31 days in a month, they could earn $31, right? So once at the end of the month, we would go count up all of the smiley faces each one of them had. I would go get dollars from the bank. And I always had to explain to them that I needed, X amount of dollars for our kids, but I would get dollars from the bank, and we will all sit down together, even my husband, as a family, and we would give out their money, and then we would bring out that we have them go get their jars and be like, okay, 10% of $3, it's $30, is $3. Put your $3 in the give bucket. 20% of $30 is $6. Go ahead and put that in your save bucket. And then, of course, if they wanted to give more, they could. If they wanted to save more, they could, but they could do whatever they wanted with that spend money. And my husband bought them a wallet for now. They don't put their spend money in the jars, they put it in their wallet now. So that is a way that we were able to start helping them learn more about finances. Of course, as they get older, you can start getting into more details. But that is how we started off our kids with learning about money, having them earn it, whatever money they got from their grandparents and their aunties and uncles. We started showing them how to give, how to save, and how to spend it. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class. Just a quick overview on how do you master your money. One, you have to change your mind. You have to make sure that you are around people who are where you want to be. You need to analyze really recognize your money story. You need to start looking at some of those money habits that you might have. You need to get accountability. You need to educate yourself. And of course, you need to make sure that you're hanging around the right group of people, right? That's the first thing. The next thing we talk about, know where you are. You need to know exactly where you are financially on a month-to-month basis. Know how much money you're spending. And then we talked about going back and seeing what you can realistically reduce and or eliminate. We also talked about telling your money where to go, creating that budget, having a monthly money plan so that you know exactly where your money is going every single month. You're telling it what to do instead of allowing it to control you, right? The next thing we talked about was save for a rainy day. It's imperative that we have something saved so that we won't have to keep using our credit cards when the rain comes, when emergencies happen, right? And then we talked about paying down debt. We want to pay down one debt at a time, regardless of what method you use, whether it's a snowball, avalanche, or have it your way. The goal is to tackle one debt at a time. Start with the least, start with the highest interest rate. However you do, you're still paying the minimum on all the other things. What we don't want to do is take that $300 and we put a little bit on one bill on our student loans, a little bit on our credit cards, a little bit on our car note. No, we're going to take that all of that extra money and we're going to tackle whichever debt you decided you want to do first. We're going to put it on that debt and then start paying down one debt at a time. All right. So, and then number 6 was we wanted to use our time and talent to be able to generate extra money, additional streams of income. Like I said, everybody should have some way of making extra money outside of their 9 to 5. It is imperative now. We're living in a time where we can't just rely on our 9 to 5, on our job, because that could get taken away at any given moment. We want to make sure that we have additional streams of income coming into our household. And of course, number 7, we talked about teaching our kids. As we learn, we teach them. As we grow in our finances, we teach them. And we're teaching them at a young age how to start giving, how to start saving, and then how they can spend the rest of their money. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am on Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram at Petrina D. Turner. I also have a free Facebook group where we teach different methods on savings and getting out of debt and just different things. It's free, and we have challenges and we have free webinars, so you can always go and join the Becoming Financially Free Facebook group. You can just type it into Facebook and it should come up, or you can also go to petrinaturner.com/storm with Petrina. Tomorrow we are starting a savings challenge. It's an 8-day savings challenge, an 8-day no spend savings challenge, where we are not spending any money on unnecessary things, only on the things that we need. We can't go to Starbucks, no Chick-fil-A, no Amazon, no Target, none of those things. We're going to only spend our money on what we actually need. And I email you all out a video with tips on ways for you to save. All right. So again, I hope this helped. Thank you so much, Dory, and everybody, for being here and allowing me to come and present to talk about how to master your money.
Thank you so much, Petrina. Well, I know I was writing down and tweeting and sharing out some really good tips there. And I hope that those who have joined us really have been benefiting from this as well. So this is a good time for us to take a moment and see if we have any questions that have come in. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them right into your chat. Petrina, if you have any questions, they would actually come straight into you. So
they would. Okay, let me see.
Check your chat.
Can you see me? I feel like, did I stop my share?
It's on now. You're back.
Okay. Let me see. if I see any.
So check your
Oh,
chat.
somebody asked, okay, can you name the online banks again? There's so many banks. I Googled just online savings, high yield savings account. And it was, I know if you go to like Nerd Wallet, they have a list and they update their list every month, I believe. But I personally use American Express, their online savings. There's no fees, no monthly fees. They're FDIC insured, all that stuff. And we also have a Marcus Goldman and Sachs online account. So we have like an emergency fund where we keep our money in there. We have like a vacation fund. I have to separate my money to make sure that I don't, one, spend it, and two, that I can designate, okay, this is where we're keeping money for vacation. This is where we're keeping money, for the boys back to school, whatever it is. Okay, somebody asked, which have you used before? Okay, so I think they were talking about the methods as far as the paying down your debt methods. I love the snowball method because you're paying off. Snowball method is great because you're paying off the least amount of debt first. So normally you pay that off quickly, and you are like, yes, when you got paid off that one, you're like, yes, I can do that. I can do this, and it's easy for you to continue on because maybe it may have taken a month or two for you to pay it off, right? Depending on, of course, how much it was. But I like the snowball method because it can give you quicker wins than like an avalanche method. Because avalanche, let's say your highest interest rate is $30,000. It's going to take you it might take you a long time to pay that off. And by then you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. And you'll go back to what you were doing before. So I like the snowball method because it's like quick wins. You are excited because you paid something off, and now you're motivated to go pay off the next one.
Yes, I've seen a comment come in from someone that says they've used the snowball method, and then someone
Yeah.
has used the avalanche method
Yes.
without even knowing that it was a standard method.
Somebody asked me, what is your favorite budget tool? I don't have a favorite budget tool only because I like using Excel. And sometimes to me, the budgeting tool, the ones that I have experienced, they weren't really helping me with my budget. All they were showing me were what I was spending on, food or whatever. Some of them did have like dates, but it wasn't a tool to help me create a plan. It was just telling me what I was spending. So you can try, like, I know Dave Ramsey has, if you go to his website, he has some budgeting. If you Google budgeting tools, budgeting apps, then there will be a couple that comes up. I prefer to either write it out or just use an Excel spreadsheet because to me, it's the easiest. I can actually see and plan how I'm going to spend my money before my check actually hits the account.
Petrina, is there a certain time of the month that you sit down and you do your budget for the next month?
So because I've been doing this so long, this is why I like to use Excel. I pretty much have my budget already planned out for the whole year because all I do is copy my whole budgeting sheets for the new year. And all I have to do is just go back and edit some of the things that, may have come up that didn't come up the previous year. What I tell people to do is when I'm helping people to set up their budget, I'm normally helping them set up their budget by the quarter. So we'll go ahead and do January, February, and March. And then we'll look to see, okay, are we going to have the same type bills in April, May, and June? If so, all we got to do is create the same type budget, whether it's written or whether it's online or on Excel, and just copy and paste. So the goal is to do it ahead of time. Whenever you do it ahead of time. And somebody else has said, is it hard to pay off a mortgage? We're still paying off our mortgage. So I think it's easier to pay off your mortgage, of course, when you don't have any other mortgages. I tell people that depending on how much other debt that you have, typically the mortgage is the last thing you pay off. And that's mainly because you still get to write off, the interest that you're paying every year. So a lot of people want to pay that off last so that they can have something to write off. But no, do exactly what we were saying with the mortgage. The only difference is when I'm paying any extra on my mortgage, then I just tell them that please make sure that this doesn't go to any interest rate, right? Any interest. I want to put this on the principal. So I've had actually the first time I heard somebody talk about paying off the debt, they were talking about how they paid off their mortgage in 7 years. And actually, we have a friend who they paid off their mortgage. They paid off all the other stuff, student loans, credit cards, car notes, and all that kind of stuff. And then mortgage was the last one. And since they had all that extra, they didn't have any other debt. They had literally had tons of money to dump into their mortgage. So no, it's not hard. Just make sure that make sure that you can pay it off, because there are some stipulations, some banks that have clauses that say you cannot pay your mortgage off early. So make sure you can. And then when you do pay it off, make sure that money is going strictly to the principal. Student loans seem so impossible to pay off. What's a good strategy for those? Basically, the same strategy that I was talking about with paying off a mortgage. Just make sure that any extra money that you get when you are focusing on paying off your student loans, that is going straight to your student loan. So again, remember I said, like, if you had a couple extra $100, $300 a month, and you're splitting up, putting an extra $100 on your car note, extra $100 on your credit card, and then you're putting the extra $100 on your student loan. No, make sure you're paying the minimum on everything else, but take that extra dollar and assign it to, if the student loans, what you're paying off now, take that extra $300 and add it to whatever the minimum payment is for your student loans. The best way to pay off debt is to tackle it one debt at a time. Tackle it one debt at a time. Don't put extra money here, a little bit there. No, you're not going to ever pay off debt when you're doing that because of interest rates. So make sure when you are paying off debt, tackle one debt at a time.
Really good question.
So that's all I see. Are there any other questions? I think I'm gonna go back up, make sure we answered everything. So yeah, that's all the questions I see. I hope the tips that I gave is something that you will begin to put into practice. Like I said, these are tips that we did ourselves, that we are still doing. We're still saving. We still, of course, have our mortgage that we are paying off, and our student loan. So we are still, the goal for us was to quickly get out of consumer debt, which was our credit card and our and our auto loans. So we were able to pay $40,000 off in that 21 months by tackling one debt at a time. Once we paid off one debt, we took all that money we were using to pay off that particular debt for the month and rolled it down to the next debt, and kept doing that until we were able to tackle those debts.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for all of those questions. Thank you for your attentiveness. Thank you so much, Petrina, for this excellent information to get us going in 2022.
Yes.
Petrina will be back. So if you enjoyed this one, you will have a chance to see her again in the spring. So she'll be talking about Credit 101. So stay tuned for that. Join the Money Savings Challenge. I know I'm going to sign up, see if I can save a little more. Okay. Grandma Doris, do you have any words?
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed. You're never too old to learn anything.
That's right.
I'm taking notes, Petrina. I'm taking notes. And I will be I will be passing on this information that we learned about paying off debt, because debt, nobody likes debt, and it's a headache. Yes. It's easy to get into and it's hard to get out.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to you coming back again.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. Thanks, everyone. You have a wonderful, wonderful week and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.